Okay, so just sit yourself. Let me just move this. I've got wires everywhere because we've been using this as an impromptu living room. So I think there's a lot of, I need to do a bit of a clear out today because now everything is finished. So the house is back to normal. So just sit yourself on your lift and just have a little wriggle about so that you feel even and placed so that you're sitting with your seat bones evenly level. So just have a little wriggle about around your knees and then lift and open the chest. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Listen to the sound of your breath as it enters and as it exits. Soften your jaw, soften your tongue. Just listen to the sound of the breath as it fills the lungs from the bottom to the top. And as it empties the breath, empties the lungs from the top to the bottom. So feeling the lung inflating your lungs, feeling your out breath deflating your lungs. Maintain gentleness in the jaw and in the tongue and in the throat. Just look down at something that's not moving. Bring your hands into Namaste. Press the palms firmly together, lift and open the chest. And with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. So focus in on long, slow, deep, deliberate in-breaths, long, slow, deep, deliberate out-breaths. Begin to associate the breath at the nostrils with the inflation and deflation of the lungs. So focusing on the breath is the conduit to draw in focus from the mind. So we draw our thoughts inwards, we draw our senses inwards, and all by focusing on the physical body and on the breath. Gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in your heart area. And then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to gently open. So grip around your knees, lift and open the chest. Just spend a few moments just really focusing with your eyes open this time on the inflation, deflation sensations within the chest, just from connecting that breath from the breath at the nostrils. So connect that feeling of air as it touches the hairs in the nostrils, and then connect that specific feeling with the feeling within the chest. And again, just focusing on the in-breath and the in-breath's ability to draw your attention into the physical body for observation, and the power of the out-breath to draw you more deeply into physical exertion in activation. So in-breaths and out-breaths. Take a deep inhalation in through the nose. And then with an exhalation, turn to the right side, drawing the abdomen across, using the out-breath to activate the turn more deeply. Use the in-breath just to draw your attention into the body in observation. Using the out-breath to turn a little more deeply, to activate the pose a little more deeply. And come back to the center, grip around your knees, lift and open the chest, drive your spine upwards, take a good strong deep inhalation in through the nose, and then turn with an activation, from the nostrils as much as from the physical body. And then just very gently come back to the center. Come off your lift and then sit back on your heels. So sit on your have the big toes together, the knees apart, and just allow your legs just to kind of sink into the floor. Lift and open the chest, drive your spine upwards, gather your shoulder blades together. Just listen to the sound of the breath. Press the tops of the feet firmly into the floor, press the shins into the floor, lift and open the chest. Soften your jaw, soften your tongue. And then very gently come forwards on an exhalation. Obviously, you need to mix it up with inhalations wherever that is required. But initially, I just want you to focus, before you come all the way down, just focus on the physical pose, just the pressing of the hands into the floor, the seat bones onto the heels, keeping the chest lifted at this stage without dropping your head. And spend a little time just getting the mind into the frame of observation with the in-breath, That's observation of the entire physical body, drawing your thoughts into the entire physical body. So you're inflating the body with your breath. So the in-breath acts as observation, and the out-breath acts as activation. So using your out-breath, using the out-breath to activate, come more deeply into the pose, lifting the chest as you come down, keeping your arms straight, and then finally bringing your forehead down onto the floor. But even when your head is down, it's not the full stop of the pose. Continue to breathe and observe and activate. So that process should be continual. Because when you get into the pose, then it's time to just kind of, when you move into a new house, you don't just move in and you do anything. You move in and you look in the room, and then you move the furniture in, and then you never really stop kind of moving the furniture a little bit. Maybe the TV's at a wrong angle, maybe the sofa needs to be a bit closer to the wall. So we continually, maybe we don't continually move everything, but there'll be bits and pieces that we continually move. Maybe it's not a very good analogy, actually, thinking about it, but it was an attempt. So breathe nice and softly in through the nose in observation, and then really work within the pose to activate. And then come back, sit back on your heels. So I don't think that is going to go down in my all-time best analogies, but it doesn't really matter, does it? It's just kind of an idea, isn't it? So just come down, sit back on your heels, lift and open the chest. And then I'm just going to shuffle forward slightly. Lift and open the chest. And then you're going to walk your hands behind you so that the hands are underneath your shoulders, and your arms are kind of at a right angle to the floor, so they're just directly perpendicular. So if you've got a problem back, just stay at this stage. Spread your fingers, press the palms of the hands into the floor, and then lift from the wrists up into the armpits, up into the shoulders, that didn't make sense, did it? Wrists up into the elbows, up into the armpits, so that you really feel the chest lift and open. Press the shins into the floor, lift the seat bones off the floor. Just stay at that first stage if you've got a back problem. Otherwise, press the shins into the floor, turn the tailbone inwards and upwards. Continue to lift the wrists up into the armpits. And if you can let your head extend back, extending into the chin. Breathing evenly and deeply. And then just gently come down, bring the seat bones back onto the heels, lift the fingertips, or come onto the fingertips, and then just sit forwards. And then one more time, come into Adho Mukha Virasana. So it's a really good way of just opening up the energy of the spine. Activation, observation, observation, activation. Come up onto all fours. With your little fingers on the edge of the mat, stretch the thumbs towards each other, turn your toes under, and then come up into dog down. So with bent knees to start off with, if you come up with straight legs, that's fine, but bend your knees and then lift the seat bones, lift the tailbone, so that you start to move into the shoulder blade region. Draw the shoulder blades in towards the front chest, and then begin to straighten the legs. So tadasana your legs, turn the fronts of the thighs inwards, turn the shins inwards, lift from the inner heels up into the inner groin. Using the breath, the in-breath in observation, the out-breath in activation. I'm going to stop talking for a little while so that you can just spend a little time in observation and activation. So finding areas of dullness or of problem and just working to overcome them. So each time you observe, perhaps you observe something different. Maybe the thighs aren't working like they could. Maybe your arms aren't as straight as they could be. Maybe your shoulder blades aren't working. Maybe the toes aren't spreading. Just continually find something to adjust. If I'm holding you too long in the pose, of course, rest down if you can stay and maintain and really instill that active observation and activation. Then do just for a few more cycles. Okay, step yourself forward, come up into a standing position, and then bring your feet as wide apart as your mat, turning your toes inwards. So just spend a moment activating your legs in Tadasana. So drawing the kneecaps into the sockets, activating the thighs so that they want to kind of lift up towards the top of the up towards the top of the leg, and turn the thighs inwards. Lift from the inner groins, from the inner heels up into the inner groins. Stretch your arms down, lift and open the chest. Just reinstate, if you've forgotten, that process of observation with the in-breath, activation with the out-breath. Just listening to the sounds of the breath as they enter and exit. Stretch your arms behind you so that you get them, keep them straight, but try and lift them up as high as they'll go. You'll soon find your kind of full stop. Keep the arms extended away, squeeze an imaginary box of air between the two hands, and lift and open the chest a little bit more. And then hinge at the hips, come forwards, hinging at the hips. Keep that box of air extending up towards the ceiling. Try and give that box of air to the ceiling. Keep the front chest lifted, and then just release your arms. Hook your thumbs into the crease of the elbows, wrap your fingers around your elbows, and hang down. So again, drawing your breath into the body, inflating the body with the in-breath. Activating with the out-breath. Just go around the body and observe it, and correct it if you observe something that doesn't feel right. often if there is a problem, you try and work around that problem, see what the cause of the problem is. But sometimes, say for example, if it's in one foot, then maybe you just have to activate the other foot in order to kind of even out the tension. So don't forget the mirror image. Okay, and release your hands down to the floor. Bring your hands into your hips and then come up into a standing position. And then come into Tadasana. Just lift and open your chest, have your inner edge of the feet together. Big toes touching, heels are touching. Lift and open the chest. Just be in Tadasana for a moment or two. Observation and activation, inflating the body with the breath. So with each in-breath, try and observe something that you can work on and improve, and use the out-breath to improve it. So when we work this way, it's useful to have a little bit of silence so that you're not constantly distracted by me chundering on. Bring your arms out to the sides, extend into the fingertips. Just feel that you can fill the body with the breath and the observation. Bring your arms in towards the chest. Step or jump the feet apart. Turn your left toes in, your right leg and foot all the way out. Just be at this stage of the pose. Just really work from the feet upwards, working with the breath. So think about the train tracks of the feet. Activate the legs, activate the chest, activate the arms, activate the head. And then we're going to go down on an out breath. As you activate, maintain the observation at the same time. And then come into the pose and activation and observation. Observation and activation. You can look down just to help you to focus on the breath and the action. So this pose of trikonasana we're very familiar with. So be in the pose, fill the body with the pose. Reach up with the top hand, come back to the center. Just release your arms for a second. Turn your right toes in, your left leg and foot all the way out. And then just facing the front, spread your toes, stretching your arms out, lift and open the chest. And then come over to the left side, trikonasana. And then observation and activation. Reach up with the top hand, come back to the center, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together, come back into Tadasana. So spend a little time in Tadasana, just feeling into the pose. Stretch your arms forwards, really spread into the fingertips, extend your consciousness into each individual finger. Turn the palms all the way out and then reach your arms behind you, bringing your hands into Namaste behind the back, paschima, namaskarasana. Walking your hands up the back, trying to get the fingertips up towards your neck as much as you can. And then at first it's the little fingers that will probably be just in contact, and then wing the elbows towards the back of the room, squeeze the elbows in towards each other, try and press the palms together. So could you warm up a samosa, or could you warm up a chapati? So press the palms together, so as if you could warm up a chapati. Spend a few moments just to observe how this affects your Tadasana. So are you overworking in the lumbar? Are you kind of letting the legs hit forwards? With the hands in the back still, step your feet apart. Turn your left toes in steeply and the right leg and foot all the way out. And then try and draw the back leg hip forwards, activating the legs. Tadasanaizing that back leg especially. Observation and activation. And on an out breath, come down. You can release your hands if you need to. Observation and activation. And then come back up to the center. Swap the feet around, turn the right toes in, the left leg and foot all the way out. Working that back leg in deep Tadasana. Observation, activation as you come down and as you stay. And then come back up to the center, bring the feet together, step the feet apart, and then release The arms stretch into the fingertips. Breathing deeply and evenly. So your arms might feel, your hands might feel like they've grown into like those big hands that people wave at football matches. Really spread the fingers, stretch your arms forwards, interlock your fingers, turn the palms all the way out. And then raise your arms up and over your head. Activation, observation, observation, activation. And then just release your arms, spread your fingers. Just raise your arms up again, hook the thumbs into the crease of the elbows, wrap your fingers around your elbows, then step your feet hip width apart, turning your toes in, and then just hang. Just come forwards with the upper chest, let the chest hang down to the floor, keep your legs really firmly activated. So even though this is a kind of a gentle pose just to restore our energy, you can still work, and you should still work in observation, activation. So through that continual sequence of observation and activation, we start to develop our senses, and we become sensitive to the pose. We start to learn that the body and the mind can connect, and that we can connect to the senses, to the skin, feeling the skin from the face to the feet. Okay, release your hands to the floor and then come up into a standing position. Good, and then just come down onto your knees. Have your hands shoulder width apart, just stretch forwards a little. I'm going to go back up into dog down. Turn your toes under, step back a little. And then push the hands into the floor, really straighten your arms, push your hands into the floor, and then come up into dog down. Just correct yourself if you are slightly out of line. But just draw your thoughts into the pose. Draw your thoughts into the pose with the breath in observation. So if it's just drawing the thoughts in, there's no objective. If there's drawing the thoughts in as the means of observation, then there is an objective and your thoughts know what to do. Otherwise, your thoughts just drift away. So it's like the old Stanislavski exercise where he just gets you to stand on a stage and do something. And you can't really do anything because you don't know what you're doing. But then as soon as he says, look for the lost key, then you know exactly what you're doing and you don't even have to perform because you just look for the lost key. And so with yoga, we give our thoughts that objective to become observant of the physical body. And then our thoughts know what to do. And they become quiet and useful and helpful. Okay, come down onto your knees, just sit back on your heels and then lift. And open the chest, just sit back in your asana pose for a moment or two. Good, and then just rest yourself down for a moment in supta baddhakonasana. So come down onto your back in supta baddhakonasana. So the challenge now is, because this is perhaps to be perceived as a more passive pose, it's just a relaxation pose effectively, that our thoughts drift off, and sometimes they become unhelpful, don't they? Our thoughts can be a hindrance. So even with this pose that is kind of generally perceived to be a relaxation pose, it can maintain its dynamism if you just activate. So it's not a strong activation, but it's a activation nonetheless. Press the feet together, really consciously press the feet together, press the toes together, broaden the abdomen down towards the abdominal walls, lengthen the neck away from the spine, and suddenly you have a dynamic supta baddhakonasana. Draw your observation into the pose, and you'll notice that perhaps you can activate the legs in a different way. You can move into the pose a little more deeply. Extend your arms up towards the ceiling, interlock the fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then extend your arms along the floor. Inflating your body with the in-breath, inflating your body with your observation. So maintaining that process of observation and activation. Okay, release your arms, just rest your arms on your lower ribs, just let the legs release for a moment. So the pose does become a passive pose. Just feel how gravity draws your knees down to the floor a little more. And then when you're ready, just gently draw your knees together. Have your knees together and your feet apart for a moment. Just to counter the opening action of the hips for a moment. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom. If you get hold of the outsides of your feet, then it's the happy baby pose. So you can even draw your feet up towards the ceiling a little bit, keeping the knees bent and drawing the feet apart. So you really work to kind of even out any tension on the back. And then just gently release and roll onto your right side, and then sit yourself up, and then come into the cross-legged position. So spend a moment just gripping around your knees and lifting and opening the chest. Just breathing easily, breathing evenly. Just close your eyes for a moment or two and feel that you inflate the body with the in-breath. So it's probably no surprise that when you bring air into the arms and into the legs, or at least the perception of energetic air into the arms and into the legs, a really pleasant lightness comes into the bones. Draw your chin forwards and press the chin into the chest, the notch between the collarbones. Jalandhara bandha, and continue to feel the body with the breath. You can incorporate Mula bandha as well as Jalandhara bandha, drawing the perineum or the anal sphincter up towards the navel and the diaphragm. Okay, and then just gently release Mula bandha, release Jalandhara bandha, and then raise your head, just open your eyes. Just feel perhaps how the body feels light on the inside. See if you can elevate the spine upwards, just using that feeling of lightness to drive the spine up towards the ceiling. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across, the ribs across, the shoulders across. And then come back to the center, grip around your knees, lift and open the chest. Take a good, strong, deep inhalation in through the nose. And then turn to the left. drawing the abdomen across, the ribs across, the shoulders across. And then very gently come back to the center. Good. So just release your legs, and then we're going to go into setubandha. If you're not doing setubandha today, you can do viparita karani. So just basically laying on your back, holding onto the sides of the mat, raising your legs up in the air to just perpendicular to the floor. Have your feet close to the seat bones. Have your block where you can reach it, and then bring your arms out to the sides of the body so that they're in line with your shoulders. And then press the feet flat into the floor, and then lift your seat bones up off the floor. Try and get them as high as you can. Now, at this stage, your shoulders kind of get a bit stuck. So turn the palms of the hands downwards to face the floor. And then you come right up onto the tops of the shoulders. So you turn the triceps around towards the biceps. And then get your block. And then place the block in the sacrum area of your back. Grip around. Grip the edges of the mat, turn the crease of the elbows to face the ceiling, so that again, you're turning the triceps around to the biceps, you're staying right up on the tops of the shoulders. So there's a good lift of your chest. Then either stay with your legs bent, or stretch one leg out, see how that feels, stretch the other leg out, see how that feels. If that feels doable, then push the feet into the floor, lengthen the legs away. So pressing the heels into the floor, lengthening the legs away, pulling the toes towards your kneecaps. Just breathe in nice and softly in through the nose. Just continuing that sequence of observation and activation. So this week we have been really considering this sequence of observation and activation, incorporating the breath into, or driving that with the breath, driving that sequence with the in-breath and the out-breath. And hopefully through that sequence you have discovered something new about the way that you move into the pose and how you maintain the pose. Okay, bring your feet back to the block or close to the block, bend your knees, and then just lift yourself up, maybe come up onto your tiptoes in order to do so. Lift the seat bones up, remove the block from underneath, just adjust your shoulders as you come down, and then pull your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just really working into your back, pulling your knees in towards the chest to move up your back and down away from your chest, or kind of away, not down away from your chest, just away from your chest. Your knees away from your chest to move down your back. Okay, and then when you're ready, just gently roll onto your side, straighten the top leg, and then come back up into a seated position. So get your blanket and make sure it's kind of well folded, and then have that blanket for your head so it feels even. Just move your equipment out of the way a little bit just so that you can stretch out without being kind of confined by your equipment. Come onto your elbows, just make sure you're in a really good straight line, and then just align yourself along the floor. If you're wearing glasses, it's nice to take them off. Bring your hands onto your lower ribs, and then that will put your elbows into the right position to keep your elbows where they are, and then straighten the arms, palms facing the ceiling, and then let your feet just gently release. So close your eyes if you haven't, and allow yourself to just release into the floor. Just let go of the skin and the flesh and the muscles and the bones. The more you allow your body just to become a weight on the floor by releasing the muscles, the more you release and let the body just become completely relaxed and heavy in the floor, the more that lightness comes to the top of the skin. As the heaviness of the body becomes the lightness of the energy. Just continue to draw in positive energy through the breath. Just basking in the glow of lightness and positive energy. And then wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, just bring yourself back into this pose of shavasana. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just giving yourself a gentle massage on the spine. And then just very gently roll over onto your right side. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position, just a final cross legs with your hands in the masti, just a final spinal lift. Drawing the breath in through your nose, down into the abdomen. So again, closing your eyes, drawing the breath into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you've released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions, the forward bends, the twists, the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. And then very gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to just seek to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then just release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel like you've given yourself lots of positive energy that you can put into your day. So thank you very much for joining me.